Good afternoon and welcome to Explore. We are coming to you from the Tidemark Theatre. Explore is all about arts, culture, and community. And today's focus is all about service to the community. And who better to talk about that than longtime Rotarian Cathy Kaardal, because this is the 75th anniversary of the Rotary Club of Campbell River. Welcome, Cathy.
Hello, Mary Ruth.
How are you?
Good to see you.
You too. 75 years. Not that you've been involved that long, but 75 years in Campbell River. That's quite an achievement.
1946 was the first Rotary meeting here in Campbell River. So,
now, how long have you been in the Rotary?
well, I'm third generation Rotarian.
Ah, okay.
So my days of being a Rotarian basically was as at my house in Australia when I was a child, and exchange students used to share my bedroom.
There you go.
I moved to Canada in 2005, and then in 2006 I joined the Rotary Club here.
Okay. In the 15, 16 years that you've been involved in the Rotary Club here, what has been the one thing that stands out the most for you about this particular club and the city?
This particular club, and I compare this with city clubs from where I come from, but being a more community club and having such great resources from their members. So their members are everything from engineers to seamstresses to people that are very effective in their community, and that makes a big difference.
Of all of the projects that have been done over the last 16 years, and there has been a lot, do you have a favorite?
Well, I'd have to say the suspension bridge. That was because it was 10 years in the making.
Right.
And I was sitting on the board at the time, and they talked about it actually coming into fruition. And I said to Mark DeGagne, who was McElhaney Engineering, I said, "How hard is this?" And he said, "Oh, we're just going to throw a cable from one end to the other." So that's Rotarians for you, though. They make everything so simple, and with all the mechanics of how Rotary works, lots of possibilities happen, and there's not very much that is impossible.
Now, in looking back at some of the history of the Rotary, one of the things that stands out for me is that women were only allowed to become Rotarians in the 70s?
1986.
1986 is when women were allowed.
And just to give you some idea, so Canada, so that was in the States, 1986. Just 2 years later in Campbell River, in 1988, they started letting women come into the club. So it didn't take very long for Canada to embrace that at all.
But the club started in 1946, and Rotary has been around for Rotary International has been...
I think we're up to 120?
I was going to say 125.
Yes,
somewhere
it's
in there.
Close to that. I remember the 100th. So
yeah. Now, women got the vote in the 1920s, right? When women could vote?
Or when they could vote. I don't know, you tell me.
Yeah, no, I think it was... Anyway, but I'm trying to attach the fact that even though women got the vote, before the war, it still took us up until 1988 to be service in the Rotary.
Well, women took 20, 30 years to find themselves.
Yeah.
And through brutal force during the wars, and then as a consequence afterwards. But I think at the time that was when there was a big change, where women were stepping up, education was available for women, and just the whole perception of women coming into leadership roles was taking shape. So of course, as a Rotary, they could see that as well. So to have them as part of the club, as well as, at the time, still looking after children and running households, right? So, but it was needed. They needed the balance.
Now, speaking of women moving into leadership roles, there's going to be a change July 1st in Rotary International.
That's right. This is a really exciting change. So In July 1st, we'll see the first female Rotarian international president, and she's a Canadian, Jennifer Jones.
That is spectacular.
Yeah, really.
So we've actually come quite far since 1988, because there we were, we weren't even in, then we got in, and now we're going to be running the show.
That's right. And if you weigh it up with the 100 years before that, that is a long way, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And the same thing is happening in our Interact clubs. Interact clubs are Rotarians between the ages of 14 and 18 that primarily function out of the secondary schools.
Okay.
And a lot of those are girls too. And they used to be boys, but now, and it's not 50-50, but I would say 70-30 are girls.
Now, how has that worked through the last year with the global pandemic, with the Interact clubs? How have you been able to maintain that connection with the secondary students?
So the Interact clubs have always run fairly independently. They have their own budget, they have their own projects that they want to do. They, of course, we glean on each other, but generally they run their own. And if they need funding or help with something, then they come to the Rotary Club. We like to hear what they've done and who they're engaging with in the community.
Right.
And they come and do a presentation on that. And then once a year they were, well, not in the last year, but they were running what was it? It was like a duty auction. So they would sell off their services like slaves.
Oh, okay.
And say, we'll come and clean your house, or we'll come and clean your car, or we'll do whatever to raise money for their project base.
Right. Now, were there any international students that were here in Campbell River when the pandemic started and
No.
borders were closed? Everybody had been gone by then? Okay.
So generally, the following year's selection starts around about July, August.
Okay.
So nobody has been chosen for last year or the year before.
Okay.
So they have to be 16 when they're here. So if they were here, they would have been sent home, and there would have been no selection for,
So looking ahead to this summer, will there be a selection for September intake?
We're planning one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're planning that by then there'll be enough people vaccinated that people will be able to move internationally?
Yeah, the same planning that everybody else is doing. The
Right.
if button may be planning.
Okay. Now, how many international students do you typically have come in a year?
Within District 5020, which is straddled over the States and Canada, so Vancouver Island, Seattle, we usually get around 133 students that come into district.
Wow.
Yeah, so, and in Campbell River, we can get anything from about 2 or 3 that are Rotary exchange students. There are other international exchange student programs,
Okay.
but these ones are connected to Rotary.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about where the Rotary is today, and we're going to look at some of the projects you guys have done. So you're watching Explore. We are coming to you live from the Tidemark Theatre here in the city of Campbell River. I'm Mary Ruth Snyder. We will be right back with Cathy Kaardal and the 75th anniversary of the Campbell River Rotary Club. Welcome back to Explore. I'm Mary Ruth Snyder. Joining me, Cathy Kaardal from the Rotary Club of Campbell River. They are celebrating their 75th anniversary this year, so it's going to be Rotary all year long. And the theme this year is community service, which is the theme for the Rotary anyway. That's why it exists, because it's a service club.
That's what we do.
Now, one of the really unique things you tackled this year was the banners, because everybody's looking forward to when the banners go up on the poles all through the city. But there's going to be a special little flag attached this year. Do you want to tell us about that?
So the banners that go up on the lights as you come up the Island Highway, and you'll see them, they have, the artist impressions of what's happening. And because it's community service themed for 2021, we're attaching a 75th anniversary banner to that so that everyone will remember that it's our anniversary all year. But there's lots going on in the next week to celebrate the 75th anniversary.
So why don't you tell us about some of those?
So one of the really fun ones that is hosted by What's On Digest and is for Rotary is the Campbell River photo hunt. And one of the Rotarians and I went out, I guess Monday, and we're taking photos. And what it is really challenging photos, and you get points for trying to replicate the photo. You get points for pulling a crazy face, doing a selfie, trying to catch somebody else taking a photo. And at the end of it, we tally up all the points, and we have sort of live interjections and from the Rotarians. And Benny will be doing a little spit for us. So,
And who's Benny?
Oh, Benny is Benny McGrath from the What's On Digest.
Okay. So in addition to being Rotarian, you are a local business owner.
Yes.
So you own and operate the What's On Digest, as well as What's On Media and Coffee News.
Right.
Right? Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, so that's the first one. That's really fun, and the winner gets $250 cash plus $250 worth of gift certificates. But I think we're up to like nearly 300 now because people keep giving them to us. So that's great. Yeah,
That's
and,
awesome.
Then we're doing the Coffee News will actually have its editorial section will be Did You Knows and things about the Rotary Club. There will be an insert in today's paper. The Campbell River Mirror will have a 24-page lift out of our history and what we've done.
Awesome.
So look out for that one.
Oh, and that's coming out today?
That's today.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there'll be an electronic version of that as well, right?
There will, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And then Andy Adams, our mayor, will be doing a proclamation to the city for our 75th anniversary. I'm not sure exactly what date that is, but sometime between the 15th and the 19th.
Okay. Because Andy Adams is also
A Rotarian. Yep.
Okay.
He's also been a president as well.
Okay.
And then we're having on the 20th to finalise the week, we'll be doing a bit of an antique car parade with the Rotarians speckled in through them and travelling up the Island Highway and working within the parameters of COVID, of course. So it's a bit challenging, but it's all about Rotarians getting out there and engaging the community in the projects that we've done and thanking them because they've been so terrific in supporting us. The confidence that we feel from the community is very much felt, and we don't want to let them down.
Right. Now, let's talk about some of the projects. In the first segment, we did mention that the suspension bridge was, of course, a Rotary project in partnership with the city and the Strathcona District and BC Hydro and BC Parks.
All of them.
Am I forgetting anybody? No, because you were the fifth. Yeah, so there's 5 partners. And now, what are some, and of course, everybody knows about the Sea Walk, right? That's been there for a long time now.
We just finished phase 4
Oh, okay.
early 2020.
Okay.
So that started, I believe, December 2019, maybe December 2018. But yes, that was the final phase. But of course, we've said that twice now. So I think there might be another one coming.
Okay. And you've got the aquatic park, the splash
The
park.
splash park, that was a big one. Yeah, that was a really exciting one too because we very much wanted that. The community wanted it. And we didn't really have supporting funding, but hell, we just did it anyway. And then I think TELUS came up at the last minute and covered it for us.
Okay.
But that's what I mean. That's what Rotarians do, right?
Right. And now what are some of the other projects?
The Centennial Pool, right? That's
Yeah.
been an ongoing one.
Okay.
And then the Centennial Park next to it. The Carrie Toddler Centre, Infant and Toddler Centre. I've just sort of prepared all these. I'm thinking about the big ones, but there are lots of little ones too, like Teen Flight. We donated $13,000 to them so that they could build their first plane. And now that's sort of just been a perpetuating thing where they build them, they sell them, they build them and sell them. And all along that the teens are getting trained on how to build planes.
Oh, okay.
So that's a very good program. There'll be
And
little
that's
things.
done, who runs that program? Is that Bill Alder?
Bill Older
Bill
from
Alder runs
Sealand.
from
Yeah.
Sealand. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great guy. So, and then there's things like, gee, isn't it? Of course, I've gone blank. Morgan Osler. No,
Oh, yes.
what is it? Walter Morgan
Walter
Shed.
Morgan.
Cyril Andrews Cottage, where the Arts Council is.
Yes.
Right. So we did the roof on that one, and a lot of renovating on that one. There's the Ken Ford Park and the boat ramp there, and of course the government pier. That was an enormous undertaking that we did in partnership with the Daybreak Rotary Club.
Okay.
They actually initiated it, and we chipped in together, which happens quite a bit. That one club will start, and then we end up doing it together.
Okay.
And then there's the Maritime Heritage Centre, which was another Daybreak one, which we helped with as well.
Okay.
The aquarium we bought over from Uculet.
Right.
Anything, that's what I mean, anything that's like a big or a small or something that we feel will engage community and build community and build Campbell River, they're the ones that tend to strike our interest the most.
So is there anything on your radar at the moment for what the next project might be?
Yes, because we get most of our funding for these projects from the TV auction or the Rotary auction, and 2020 we didn't see an auction. And what happens too is then when we have auctions and then projects don't finish, like the field house, for instance,
Right.
where it took 5 years really for it to come about, and same with the bike park, the money starts to bank up a little bit. And so we could afford to have a year not to do the auction, and it seemed like that COVID was a good year to do that.
Yep.
But it gave us a chance to, as well, to really have a look and feel at see what sort of projects need to be done. So I know we're talking about putting washrooms in the Beaver Forest lands. I think that one's probably a more than likely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about extending the trail on the far side of the Elk Falls Bridge?
On the far side. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you go across the bridge and you
Yeah.
have a landing,
Yeah,
and then it's all
right.
fenced off, but I believe that the thought was originally that was going
That's
to
right.
continue up.
Yeah, there was a thought that we could put a rigid bridge across the water.
Right.
But all that depends entirely on BC Hydro and BC Parks.
Right.
And I think with the way the water runs when they let it go there, that was a bit risky.
Right.
I'm not sure where that one's at now. I'd be speculating if I guess,
Okay.
but yeah.
All right. Well, it sounds like there's a lot of really cool projects coming up. I'm
There
really
is.
excited to see them unfold.
Beaches, barbecues, all those things come to the table.
Awesome. Now we are going to take another quick break. You're watching Explore. We are coming to you live from the Tide Mark Theater that has pivoted since last spring to bring you live streaming from this very stage. So stay right where you are. We'll be right back with Cathy Kaardal. Welcome back to Explore. We are coming to you from the Tidemark Theatre. You're watching us live on the Tidemark Theatre's Facebook page. Our guest today is Cathy Kaardal from the Rotary Club here in Campbell River, celebrating the 75th anniversary. I can't believe it's 75 years already. It's just, time is just going so fast.
I remember doing the 70-year thing. It just feels like
Yesterday.
two years anyway. But yeah, it just keeps turning over. We were already talking about the 100th anniversary, and I'm like, well, hang on, how old am I going to be then?
Well, and this week is also the International Week of the Woman.
That's right.
International Women's Week. International Women's Week. And of course, on July 1st, for those that missed it, we are getting a new Rotarian International President, Rotary International President, and it's a female. And she's Canadian. And her name is Jennifer Jones. Isn't that fantastic?
First time.
First time. That is amazing.
Canadians are very, very forward in bringing their women leaders to the forefront, I think, as an Australian speaking.
Right.
Yeah.
And here we sit on Wednesday, March 10th, 2021. Do you remember where you were a year ago?
Yes, I was in my office and we were preparing for the April issue of What's On. And then we started getting phone calls and emails saying cancelled, cancelled, cancelled. And my stepdaughter was with us because she'd been sent back from China because her husband's a diplomat. And she had told us what could be coming. And I thought, no, that's not going to happen to Canada. No, I couldn't have that happen here. And sure enough, so when it was happening, I knew how it was going to come down. Yeah.
Well, it's a year ago today or tomorrow that the U.S. president canceled all international flights. And then the very next day is when Prime Minister Trudeau had his press conference.
Right. Yes.
Can you believe it's a year ago?
When I look, it doesn't physically feel like it, other than I felt like I've been eating a lot. But it does, when I look back at like all the things that we've had to change and iterate and pivot and because I'm so involved with Campbell River businesses, then I'm listening to the way they're trying to pivot as well. So when I go through all that, I'm like, geez, we've come a long way.
We have.
Yeah.
Now, how did the Rotary pivot? How quickly before the Rotary pivoted to online meetings? Was it right away in April?
Pretty quick. Our secretary, David Heath, he's just a bit of a wizard at all that technical stuff. And he quickly found some solutions that could get us meeting. I think we may have lost a week.
Really?
Just a week, yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah, wasn't it? And then, of course, there was quite a few of the older Rotarians. Our Rotarians range between 29 and 99. And so there was a few of the Rotarians that were reluctant or just wanted to just sit it out a bit and see if they really had to learn that piece of equipment. But, you know, it turns out now that they all think they're super techs right now because they're using Zoom, which is lovely. I just think it's lovely.
Okay. How does somebody go about joining the Rotary Club?
Well, it's pretty easy. You can contact us through our Facebook page or from our website. All the people's names are there. But generally, I think there's a bit of a misconception that you have to either own a business or you have to be invited or you have to be old.
And you don't have to be any of those things.
You do not have to be any of those things. If you just want to help in the community and you want to contribute and you want to be part of an organization that gets things done.
And they do get things done. Like
that's
the
big
list
one.
of projects that we just went through is extraordinary.
Yep. Then you just pick up the phone and say, I'd like to join a meeting.
Really?
That's it.
I actually did not know it was that easy.
Yep. And then one of the members will contact you and sort of mentor you, or sort of take you through the steps. And then if you want to become a member, you don't have to decide straight away. You can hang in for a few meetings and see what goes on. But during COVID, during Zoom meetings only, I think we've had about 6 new Rotarians in the past 12 months.
Great.
Yeah, which is just pretty much on par to what we usually do.
Now, is there an age limit to join? Like, do you have to be how old before you can join the actual?
There isn't. I mean, in the cities, they have, as I said, the interacts between 14 and 18.
Okay.
And then the next one is Rotaracts, which are 18 to supposedly 35. But those groups operate out of universities and colleges, and we don't have any here in Campbell River. It would be close to similar to the young people's.
Right. So if somebody is 18 and not going to any of those schools, they could
can join
call you up
Rotary.
and join the Rotary Club.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they're even talking about now the interacts moving into middle schools, not just secondary schools. So.
Well, I could see the logic behind that, because you really want to instill in every generation how important it is to give back to your community and to be engaged, because without everybody's engagement, you lose
And
the
it's so
community.
rewarding.
It
It's
is.
so rewarding to watch your people and your city develop when there's multiple efforts and everybody working together. I think really that's what all of us as human beings want when we join things. I know that a lot of Rotarians join Rotary for one reason, but they stay for a completely different reason, and that's the way it always goes, because it just becomes a part of who you are. Here I am since I was 10 years old. So
Now, we have just a few minutes left. What would you like to say to the community about Rotary if anybody out there is even slightly thinking that, well, that sounds not too bad. That sounds maybe kind of interesting.
I would say just pop your head in and take a look and see what we do and what we talk about. There are various avenues of service, from international to community to youth programs, media programs, if you just want to do media. So much is available and so much training. So you can travel all around the world if you want, when you can. Or you can just stay local and pick up on some of the programs that are available. We have quite a few people from Campbell River that go be a part of international service, doing medical camps at Nepal,
So polio eradication.
polio eradication,
Right.
wheelchair distribution in Guatemala and other places like that.
Okay.
So Rotarians get to go, and often they take their families with them, their husbands and their kids, because they want them to have the experience as well. So there's just so much opportunity. It doesn't stop just here in Campbell River.
Okay.
And if you want, like a lot of people, I think another misconception is that you have to go to a meeting every week. Well, that's not true either. It's roughly, if you want to sort of cut it down, then it's about 45 minutes a week to be a Rotarian. You don't join to do nothing, obviously. So if you can afford 45 minutes a week and get things done in your city, and maybe sit at the table where the projects committee sit and say, these look like good projects for our city, and what's the steps that we take to get those sort of jobs done?
Right.
Then join Rotary. We need you. We need everybody.
Awesome. Cathy, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate your time and all the insights, and the fact that we're going to have an international Rotarian president who is female and Canadian starting
Yes.
July 1st. It's fantastic. And congratulations on the 75th anniversary. We'll be watching for all the upcoming events and the new little flags that are going to be at the bottom of the banners.
Register for the
through
photo
city.
hunt.
Yeah,
You've
look
got
for the
till-
photo hunt.
You've got till Saturday night to register.
There you go. All right. Well, that's super. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
You have been watching Explore, coming to you from the Tidemark Theatre. Please join us again.